You took it, didn't you? Ryder Kane's voice cut through the night like broken glass. His massive frame blocked the only exit from the clubhouse parking lot, and Savannah could see the rage building behind his cold gray eyes. I swear I didn't touch a single dollar. Then where's the rest of my money? Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold her car keys. Behind Ryder, 20 leather-clad bikers had formed a semicircle engines, still rumbling, waiting to see what their leader would do to the blonde waitress who just walked into their world. 24 hours ago, she'd found his wallet, $8,000 that could have saved her home. Instead, she'd driven here to return it, and now he was calling her a thief. Please, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I brought back everything. Get out of here, Ryder said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. And pray I never see you again. Before we dive into what happened next, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this journey travels. Because what you're about to hear will restore your faith in the most unexpected places. Savannah Cole hadn't slept in 37 hours. The fluorescent lights of the Desert Rose Diner buzzed overhead like angry wasps as she wiped down booth number 7 for the third time that shift. Her reflection in the chrome napkin dispenser showed what exhaustion looked like. Blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her blue eyes, a coffee stain on her uniform that wouldn't come out no matter how many times she scrubbed it. Order up, Savannah. Pete's gravelly voice cut through the kitchen window. She grabbed the plates, 2 burgers, extra pickles fries so greasy they'd already soaked through the basket liner, and carried them to the truckers in booth 3. Anything else I can get you, gentlemen? The older one, maybe 60 with a gray beard, smiled kindly. You doing okay, sweetheart? You look like you could use about 3 days of sleep. Savannah forced a smile she didn't feel. Just one of those weeks. One of those weeks. That was the understatement of the century. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She already knew what it was. Another text from her landlord, Marcus Delaney. She didn't need to read it to know what it said. The same thing he'd been saying for 3 months. Pay up or get out. Savannah, Pete called again. Table 6 needs refills. She moved on autopilot, coffee, pot in hand, smile plastered on her face. The dinner rush was just starting to die down, and she'd already pulled a double shift. Her feet screamed inside her worn-out sneakers, but she couldn't afford to stop. Not when she was still $4,000 short of what she needed. $4,000 that might as well have been $4 million. The door chimed. Savannah glanced up and felt her stomach drop. 3 men walked in, and the entire diner seemed to contract around them. They weren't tall. Well, the one in front was easily 6'4", but it wasn't their height that made everyone stop talking. It was the leather, the patches, the way they moved like they owned not just the diner, but the whole damn highway outside. Hell's Angels. Savannah had seen bikers come through before. This stretch of Route 66 saw all kinds. But something about these 3 made her instincts scream. The giant in front had gray in his beard and eyes that looked like they'd seen things no one should see. His leather vest was covered in patches, and across his chest in bold letters, Hell's Angels MC, Phoenix. Behind him, 2 younger men, both built like they could bench press a motorcycle. Sit anywhere you like, Savannah called out, trying to keep her voice steady. The big one's eyes landed on her, and for a moment she felt pinned in place like a butterfly under glass. Then he moved toward booth 7, the one she just cleaned. Savannah grabbed 3 menus and walked over every instinct telling her to run. Coffee, she asked. The big one didn't look at the menu. 3 coffees, black. His voice was exactly what she'd expected, gravel and smoke, an authority that didn't need to be loud. Coming right up. As she turned away, she heard one of the younger ones laugh. This place hasn't changed since the 90s. That's why we come here, the big one said. Everything else changes too damn fast. Savannah poured 3 coffees, her hands steadier than she felt. When she returned to booth 7, the 3 men were talking in low voices that stopped the second she approached. Here you go. She set down the cups. Ready to order? Give us a minute, the big one said. Up close, she could see a scar running through his left eyebrow and the letters tattooed on his knuckles. R-Y-D-E-R on the right hand, K-A-N-E on the left. Ryder Kane. She'd heard that name before. Whispered in the diner by truckers who knew better than to say it too loud. President of the Phoenix Charter. A man you didn't cross unless you had a death wish. Take your time, Savannah said, backing away. At the counter, Pete was watching the bikers with nervous eyes. Those boys trouble when aren't they? Savannah muttered. But the truth was they were quiet. They ordered 3 steaks medium rare, loaded baked potatoes, and they ate in relative silence. Ryder Kane pulled out a worn leather wallet at one point, and Savannah caught a glimpse of cash. A lot of it. Her chest tightened. She looked away quickly. Don't even think about it. But the thought was already there, uninvited and insistent. That much cash could solve everything, could keep her home, could give her breathing room to figure out what came next. She pushed the thought down and focused on her other tables. By 10 p.m., the diner was nearly empty, just the bikers in booth 7 and an elderly couple finishing pie in the corner. More coffee? Savannah asked, approaching the booth. Ryder Kane looked up. For the first time all night, something in his expression softened slightly. You work here every night. Most nights, Savannah admitted. That's a hell of a commute from Phoenix. I don't live in Phoenix. I'm local. He nodded slowly like he was filing that information away. Good steak. I'll tell the cook. One of the younger bikers she'd heard them call him Ghost grinned. Best meal we've had in weeks, Ryder. Don't let Marianne hear you say that, the other one said. She'll ban you from the clubhouse kitchen. They laughed, and for a moment they seemed almost normal. Just 3 guys enjoying a meal. But Savannah knew better than to let her guard down. At 11 p.m., they paid Ryder, threw down $200 bills, and told her to keep the change, and walked out into the parking lot where their Harleys sat like chrome beasts under the streetlights. Savannah exhaled slowly as the door closed behind them. Thank God, Pete muttered from the kitchen. Thought we were going to have trouble. They were fine, Savannah said, though her heart was still racing. She cleared booth 7 stacking plates and wiping down the table when something heavy slid out from under the seat and landed on her shoe. A wallet, thick, worn black leather. Savannah picked it up, her pulse jumping. She glanced toward the window, but the parking lot was already empty. The roar of motorcycles faded into the distance. She should run outside, should try to flag them down. Instead, she stood there, holding the wallet, feeling its weight in her hand. Don't open it, just don't. But her fingers were already moving, flipping it open. The first thing she saw was the cash. Stacks of $100 bills, rubber banded together. She didn't need to count it to know there was more money in this wallet than she'd seen in 6 months. Her throat went dry. This was it. This was the answer to everything. The eviction notice. The medical bills still coming from her mother's last hospital stay. The electricity bill she'd been dodging for 3 weeks. Just take it. They'll never know it was you. But even as the thought formed, something else caught her eye. Tucked behind the cash was a photograph. She pulled it out carefully. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8, with blonde hair and blue eyes that looked too big for her thin face. She was lying in a hospital bed connected to tubes and wires, but she was smiling at the camera like she didn't know how sick she was. On the back of the photo, in rough handwriting, Emma. Stay strong, baby girl. Savannah's hands started shaking. She dug deeper into the wallet and found a folded piece of paper. When she opened it, her breath caught. For Emma's surgery fund. Below that, a list of names and numbers. Donations from other bikers. 500 here, 1,000 there. All adding up to the $8,000 currently sitting in her hands. Oh God, Savannah whispered. You okay out there? Pete called. Fine. Her voice came out too high. Just finishing up. She shoved the photo and paper back into the wallet and stood there frozen in the middle of the empty diner, holding the one thing that could save her life or destroy it. Give it back. You can't. You need it. It's for a sick child. So was your mother. The thoughts crashed over each other like waves, and Savannah felt tears burning in her eyes. Her mother had died 6 months ago. Lung cancer, 3 years of treatments that insurance barely covered. Savannah had sold her car, maxed out 2 credit cards, and taken out a personal loan she had no hope of paying back. And for what? Her mother had died anyway. Died in pain in a hospital bed that looked a lot like the one in the photograph, telling Savannah to let her go. I can't, Savannah had sobbed. I can't lose you. Baby, you have to live your life. Promise me. Promise me you'll be okay. But Savannah wasn't okay. She was drowning, and this wallet full of cash was a life raft she couldn't afford to ignore. But it belongs to them, to that little girl. She thought about Ryder Kane's eyes, cold and hard and capable of violence she didn't want to imagine. If she took this money, he would know. Eventually, he would figure it out. And then, Savannah closed her eyes and made a decision that would change everything. "Pete," she called, "I need to leave early. Family emergency." Pete poked his head out of the kitchen, frowning. "You serious? I still need help closing." "I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you tomorrow." She didn't wait for him to argue. She grabbed her purse, shoved the wallet inside, and walked out into the parking lot where her beat-up Honda Civic sat under a broken streetlight. Her hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to get the key in the ignition. "Turn around. Go home. Forget you ever found it." Instead, she pulled out her phone and typed into Google Hells Angels Phoenix Clubhouse address. The first result made her stomach drop. Industrial District, East Phoenix, a place nice girls didn't go after dark. Savannah sat there in her car engine running, staring at the address on her screen. She could still change her mind, could take the money to the police in the morning. Let them handle it, except the police wouldn't handle it. They'd keep it as evidence, and that little girl would never get her surgery, and Ryder Kane would think some desperate waitress had stolen from him anyway. No, if she was going to do this, she had to do it right. Savannah put the car in drive and headed toward Phoenix, praying she wasn't about to make the last mistake of her life. The drive took 40 minutes, and with every mile, Savannah's doubts grew louder. "Turn back. This is insane. You're driving into a Hells Angels clubhouse at midnight with $8,000 in your purse." But she kept driving. The industrial district was exactly what she'd imagined: dark warehouses, empty, lot streets that looked like they'd been forgotten by the city. Her GPS led her down a road with no streetlights, and her headlights carved through the darkness like she was driving into another world. Then she saw it. A low concrete building surrounded by a chain-link fence. Motorcycles lined up outside like soldiers, lights burning in the windows. And standing guard at the gate, 2 bikers who watched her Honda approach, like they were deciding whether to let her live. Savannah pulled up slowly, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. One of the guards walked over. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with a shaved head and arms covered in tattoos. "You lost sweetheart?" Savannah rolled down her window. "I need to see Ryder Kane." The guard's eyebrows shot up. "You need to what?" "Ryder Kane, he was at the Desert Rose Diner tonight. He left something." The guard studied her for a long moment, then pulled out a radio. "We got a situation at the gate. Civilian female asking for Ryder. Says he left something at a diner." Static crackled. Then a voice, "Bring her in." The guard waved her through, and Savannah drove into the compound, feeling like she just crossed a line she could never uncross. The parking lot was full of motorcycles and pickup trucks. Men stood around in small groups, smoking, talking, all of them turning to watch as her little Honda rolled past. "Park over there," the guard called, pointing to an empty spot near the building entrance. Savannah Park took a deep breath and got out of the car. Every eye in the parking lot was on her. She clutched her purse to her chest and walked toward the entrance, where another biker stood waiting. "Ryder's inside," he said. "Follow me." The clubhouse smelled like leather and motor oil and beer. The walls were covered in framed photos, bikers posing with their rides, group shots, memorial plaques for members who died. "What am I doing here?" The biker led her through a hallway and into a large room that looked like a combination bar and meeting hall. More bikers sat around watching TV, playing pool, drinking. And at the far end, sitting at a table with the 2 men from the diner, was Ryder Kane. He looked up as she entered, and his expression went from surprise to something harder. "The waitress," he said slowly. "I'm sorry to bother you," Savannah started, her voice shaking, "but you left this at the diner." She pulled the wallet from her purse and held it out. For a moment, no one moved. Then Ryder stood up, crossed the room in 3 long strides, and took the wallet from her hands. He opened it, looked inside, counted the cash, and then his eyes locked on hers, cold and dangerous. "Where's the rest?" Savannah's blood went cold. "What? The rest of the money, where is it?" I don't understand. It's all there." "There was $9,000 in here," Ryder said, his voice dropping to something deadly. "Now there's 8. Where's the other 1,000? Savannah felt the room tilting. "I didn't take anything. I swear to God, I didn't." "You drove all the way out here at midnight just to return a wallet you stole from." "I didn't steal it. You left it in booth 7 under the seat. And you took a $1,000 finder's fee before bringing it back." "No." Tears spilled down Savannah's cheeks. I didn't touch a single dollar. I brought back everything exactly as I found it. The other bikers were standing now, forming a circle around her. Ghost stepped forward. Ryder, maybe she's telling the truth. Or maybe she thought we wouldn't notice. Ryder cut him off. He looked at Savannah with something like disgust. You should have just kept it all, sweetheart. At least then you would have been honest about being a thief. I'm not a thief, Savannah was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. I saw the photo, the little girl, Emma. I saw what the money was for, and I couldn't keep it. Something flickered in Ryder's eyes at the mention of Emma, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. Get out, he said coldly. Please, you have to believe me. Get out. His voice echoed through the clubhouse, and Savannah stumbled backward, nearly tripping over her own feet. The biker who'd let her in grabbed her arm, not roughly, but firmly. Come on, I'll walk you out. Savannah let herself be guided back through the hallway, through the entrance, across the parking lot to her car. Her vision was blurred with tears, and she could barely breathe through her sobs. For what it's worth, the biker said quietly as she got into her car. I believe you. But it wasn't worth anything, because tomorrow morning she'd lose her home, and the one good thing she'd tried to do had just blown up in her face. As Savannah drove away from the clubhouse, Ryder Kane's words followed her into the darkness. You should have stayed away from our world. She made it 3 miles before she had to pull over because she was crying too hard to see the road. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Marcus Delaney. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., Sheriff's Department will be there. Don't bother begging. Savannah screamed into the empty car, a sound of pure rage and grief and helplessness. She'd done the right thing, and it had destroyed her. Back at the clubhouse, Ryder Kane sat alone at the table staring at the wallet in his hands. You think she took it? Ghost asked carefully. I think people lie when money's involved, Ryder said. But his eyes kept going back to the photograph of Emma, the way the waitress had mentioned her, the tears that had seemed real. Get the security footage from that diner, Ryder said suddenly. Tonight, I want to see exactly what happened after we left. Ghost nodded and disappeared. Ryder sat there in the dim light holding his daughter's picture, wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. Savannah didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. She sat on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes she'd started packing 3 days ago, staring at the eviction notice taped to her door. The words blurred together after a while, but the date stayed sharp and clear. May 14th, 9 a.m., 6 hours from now. Her phone showed 3:17 a.m., and outside of her window, the world was still dark and silent. In 6 hours, the sheriff would arrive. Marcus Delaney would be there with his smug smile and his clipboard. Her neighbors would watch from behind their curtains, grateful it wasn't happening to them. She'd become a cautionary tale, the girl who tried too hard and lost everything anyway. Mom, Savannah whispered to the empty room. I tried. I really tried. Her mother's rocking chair sat in the corner, the only piece of furniture she couldn't bring herself to pack. The wood was worn smooth from years of use, and if Savannah closed her eyes, she could still hear the creaking sound it made when her mother rocked back and forth, reading library books and drinking sweet tea. You'd tell me I did the right thing, wouldn't you, returning that money? The chair didn't answer. It never did anymore. Savannah's phone buzzed, making her jump. A text from Pete. Heard about tomorrow. I'm sorry, kid. You deserve better. She didn't respond. What was there to say? Another buzz. This one from Jenny, her coworker. If you need a place to crash for a few days, my couch is open. Savannah typed back, thank you, I'll let you know. But she wouldn't take Jenny up on it. Jenny had 3 kids and a husband who worked construction when he could find work. They didn't have room for someone else's problems. At 4:30 a.m., Savannah gave up on the idea of sleep entirely. She made coffee she couldn't afford using the last of the ground she'd been stretching for 2 weeks and sat at her kitchen table watching the sky slowly turn from black to gray. Her phone rang. The sudden sound in the quiet apartment made her spill coffee across the table. She grabbed the phone expecting Pete or maybe Jenny calling instead of texting. Unknown number. Savannah stared at the screen. At 4:30 in the morning, unknown numbers meant one of 2 things: telemarketers or trouble. She answered anyway. Hello, Inance on the other end, then breathing. Hello, Savannah repeated, her heart starting to race. Is this Savannah Cole? A man's voice, deep, unfamiliar. Who is this? Answer the question. Fear shot through her chest. Yes, This is Savannah. Who? The line went dead. Savannah sat there holding the phone, her hands shaking. Wrong number prank call, or something worse. She thought about Ryder Kane's face last night. The cold fury in his eyes when he'd accused her of stealing. The way every biker in that clubhouse had looked at her like she was prey. They wouldn't. They got their money back. Why would they? Her phone buzzed again. Text message. Unknown number. Stay inside today. Savannah's blood turned to ice. She typed back with trembling fingers, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Someone who knows what's coming. "Oh God," Savannah whispered. She jumped up from the table and ran to her front door, checking the locks. Both deadbolts. Chain. Then she went to every window, making sure they were locked, pulling the curtains closed. Her mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Maybe Ryder had sent someone to teach her a lesson. Maybe he'd told other bikers she was a thief and they were coming to collect their own justice. Maybe... Her phone rang again, same unknown number. Savannah's finger hovered over the decline button, but something made her answer. "What do you want to keep you alive?" The man's voice was calm, almost bored. "You pissed off the wrong people last night." "I didn't do anything. I returned the money." "I know you did. That's not the problem." Savannah's confusion mixed with her fear. "Then what?" "Your manager, Pete. He's been skimming from the till for 6 months. When you brought that wallet to work last night, he saw an opportunity." The words hit her like a physical blow. "What are you talking about?" "He took $1,000 from your apron while you were in the bathroom. Planned to blame it on you if anyone came asking. Except now, Ryder Kane thinks you're a thief and Pete's about to disappear with money that belongs to a very sick little girl." Savannah couldn't breathe. No, Pete wouldn't. "Check the diner's back office. Top drawer of the filing cabinet. You'll find the rest of what he's stolen wrapped in a greasy towel." "Who are you?" "Someone who owes Ryder Kane a favor. Be at the clubhouse at 8 a.m. Bring Pete if you can find him. If you don't show, they'll come looking for you instead." The line went dead. Savannah stood in her apartment, phone clutched in her hand, her entire world tilting sideways. Pete. Pete had stolen from her, had let her walk into that clubhouse and take the blame for something he'd done. Pete who'd hired her when no one else would, who'd covered her shifts when her mother was dying, who'd slipped her extra tips when he thought she wasn't looking. "No," Savannah said out loud, "there's a mistake." But even as she said it, pieces started clicking together. The way Pete had been nervous last night when the bikers came in, how he'd insisted on handling the cash register himself, the new truck she'd seen him driving last week that he'd claimed was a family loan. Savannah looked at the clock, 4:47 a.m. The diner opened at 6. Pete would be there by 5:30 to start prep. She had less than an hour to decide what to do. Stay here and wait for the sheriff to throw her belongings onto the street at 9, or drive to the diner and confront the man who might have just destroyed her life. Savannah grabbed her keys. The drive to the diner felt like moving through a dream. The highway was empty except for a few long-haul truckers, and the sky was turning pink at the edges when Savannah pulled into the parking lot. Pete's new truck sat near the back entrance. Savannah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She wanted to be wrong, desperately wanted to be wrong, but she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. She got out of the car and walked to the back door. It was unlocked. Pete always opened early to let deliveries in. The kitchen was dark except for the light over the prep station where Pete stood chopping onions, his back to her. "Pete!" He spun around, knife in hand, eyes wide. "Jesus, Savannah, you scared the hell out of me. We need to talk." Something shifted in his expression. Wariness crept in. "About what?" "About last night, about the bikers." Pete set down the knife slowly. "What about them?" "They came back to the clubhouse, said money was missing from the wallet I returned." "That's rough." Pete's voice was careful, too careful. "But what's that got to do with me? You tell me." The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled tight. Then Pete sighed. "I don't know what you're talking about, Savannah." "Top drawer, filing cabinet, wrapped in a greasy towel." She watched the color drain from Pete's face. Don't lie to me," Savannah's voice cracked. "Please, not after everything. Just don't lie." Pete's shoulders sagged. For a long moment, he just stood there, staring at the cutting board in front of him. Then, "I needed it. The admission hit harder than Savannah expected. She'd known somewhere deep down, but hearing him say it out loud made it real. You needed it, she repeated numbly. My daughter's in trouble, real trouble. Her ex-boyfriend won't leave her alone and she needs to move across the country to get away from him. I didn't have the money for the move, for first and last month's rent, So you stole it. From me. From a sick child. I was going to pay it back. When, Savannah's voice rose. When were you going to pay back money that belongs to a little girl who needs surgery? Pete's jaw worked. I didn't know what it was for. I just saw the cash in your apron and thought, you thought you'd let me take the fall. No, I swear I didn't think anyone would come looking. Bikers lose cash all the time they don't. These ones did. Savannah stepped closer. And now they think I'm a thief. They think I stole from a child. Do you understand what that means? Pete's face had gone gray. Savannah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll tell them. I'll explain. You're damn right you'll explain. A new voice cut through the kitchen. Both of them spun around. Ghost stood in the doorway and behind him, 3 more bikers Savannah didn't recognize. How did you? Pete started. Cameras, Ghost said simply. Ryder sent us to pull the security footage from last night. Took us a while to get access, but we finally saw what happened. Saw you slip your hand into the waitress's apron while she was cleaning booth 8. Pete backed against the prep counter. Look, I can explain. Save it. Ghost's voice was cold. You're coming with us. I'm not going anywhere. One of the other bikers moved faster than Savannah would have thought possible. In 2 steps, he had Pete's arm twisted behind his back. Wait, Savannah heard herself say. Wait, please don't hurt him. Ghost looked at her with something like surprise. You're defending the guy who just screwed you over. His daughter needs help. He made a mistake, but nothing. Ghost cut her off. He stole from us. From Emma. You think we're just gonna let that slide? I think violence won't fix anything. Ghost studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Ryder. Yeah, we got him. And the waitress is here too. Pause. She's asking us not to hurt him. Another pause longer this time. Yeah, I'll tell her. He hung up and looked at Savannah. Ryder wants to see you both, now. Savannah's stomach dropped. I can't. I have to be at my apartment at 9. The eviction. You show up at 8 like you were told, and maybe Ryder can help with that. Ghost's expression softened slightly. He knows you were telling the truth last night. You've got nothing to be afraid of. I've got everything to be afraid of, Savannah whispered. But she followed them out to the parking lot anyway because what choice did she have? Pete was shoved into the back of a black pickup truck. Savannah drove her own car following the convoy of motorcycles and trucks through the early morning streets toward Phoenix. The sun was fully up now, painting the desert in shades of gold and copper. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like driving toward the edge of the world. When they reached the clubhouse, there were already a dozen bikes parked outside. The place looked different in daylight, less menacing, more like a regular building where regular people did regular things. Except the people waiting inside were anything but regular. Ryder Kane stood in the main room, arms crossed, face unreadable. When Savannah walked in ahead of Pete, something flickered in his eyes. You came, he said. I was told I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Ryder's gaze shifted to Pete, who was being held between 2 bikers. Unlike some people who make the wrong ones, Pete tried to speak. Mr. Kane, I can explain. I don't want your explanations. Ryder's voice was ice. I want my money. I'll get it, I swear. Just give me time. You had time. You used it to steal from a waitress and frame her for your crime. I didn't mean to frame her, I panicked. Ryder turned to Savannah. How much does he owe you? Savannah blinked. What? In wages, tips he skimmed, cash he's stolen over the months you've worked there. How much? I never added it up. Guess. Savannah's mind raced. The missing tips, the paychecks that always seemed short, the times Pete said the register was off and took it out of her pay. Maybe $2,000 over 6 months. Ryder nodded slowly. Then he looked at Ghost. How much was in that filing cabinet? $4,200, Ghost said, hidden in coffee cans and envelopes all over the back office. Give her $3,000. The rest goes back to Emma's fund. Wait, Pete struggled against the bikers holding him. That's my money. I need it for my daughter. Your daughter. Ryder's voice dropped to something dangerous. He crossed the room in 2 strides and grabbed Pete by the front of his shirt. You want to talk about daughters? Let me tell you about mine. The room went silent. Emma is 8 years old, crying. Ryder continued, his face inches from Pete's. She was born with half a heart, has had 3 surgeries already, needs a 4th one or she won't see her 9th birthday. Every dollar in that wallet came from men who work 60-hour weeks and still donated because they know what it's like to feel helpless when your kid is hurting. Pete's face had turned white. So don't talk to me about your daughter needing money, Ryder said. You want to help her get a second job? Sell your fancy truck. Do what the rest of us do, you sacrifice. You don't steal from dying children. He shoved Pete backward and the man nearly fell. Get him out of here, Ryder said to Ghost. Make sure he pays back every penny he stole from this diner over the last year. If he doesn't, we'll have another conversation. Pete was dragged out, still sputtering protests and promises. Then Ryder turned to Savannah, and the anger in his face softened into something else. Something that might have been regret. I owe you an apology. Savannah's throat was tight. You didn't know. I should have. Should have listened when you said you didn't take it. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. This is yours, $3,000. It's not enough for what you went through, but it's what we recovered. Savannah took the envelope with shaking hands. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Ryder glanced at his watch. It's 7:45. You said something about an eviction at 9 fuss. The words came tumbling out before Savannah could stop them. My landlord, I'm $4,000 short on rent and medical bills. He's sending the sheriff at 9 to put my stuff on the street. $4,000 and you just got 3. It's closer than I was yesterday. Ryder studied her face for a long moment. Then he called over his shoulder, Church, get in here. A biker appeared from a back room, older, maybe 60, with gray hair and kind eyes. Yeah, Prez. How much we got left in the discretionary fund? Church pulled out his phone and checked something. About 8 grand. Why, take 1,000, add it to what we're giving Savannah. Ryder, no, Savannah started. Yes, he cut her off. You drove out here in the middle of the night to return money you desperately needed. Money you could have kept, and we never would have found you. That deserves respect. I didn't do it for respect. I did it because it was the right thing. I know. Something in Ryder's expression shifted. That's why we're helping. Church appeared with another stack of bills. When Savannah counted it, her hands started shaking again. $4,000. Exactly what she needed. I can't accept this, she whispered. You can and you will, Ryder said. Consider it payment for emotional distress from being falsely accused. But Emma, your daughter, she needs every dollar. Emma has enough. We've been fundraising for 8 months. The surgery's scheduled for next week and we're fully funded. Ryder's voice softened. This money won't make or break her, but it might save you. Tears spilled down Savannah's cheeks. Why are you doing this? Because last night you showed me something I thought didn't exist anymore. Ryder looked away like the admission cost him something. You showed me that good people still exist, even when it cost them everything. Savannah couldn't speak, could barely breathe through the tears. Ghost will give you a ride home, Ryder continued. Make sure you're there before 9. Make sure your landlord sees that you've got the money to pay him. Thank you, Savannah managed. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Ryder's lips quirked in something that might have been a smile. Thank Emma. This was her idea. What? Showed her your picture from the diner's website. Told her what you did. She said anyone brave enough to walk into a biker clubhouse alone to do the right thing deserved help. He paused. Hard to argue with an 8-year-old who's braver than most grown men I know. Savannah left the clubhouse 20 minutes later with $4,000 of police escort arranged by Ghost to make sure she got home safely, in a completely different understanding of the men society told her to fear. The ride home was a blur. Ghost rode ahead on his Harley and 2 other bikers flanked her car like an honor guard. When they pulled onto her street at 8:45 a.m., Marcus Delaney's BMW was already parked outside her building. The sheriff's car sat behind it. Savannah's stomach clenched. Ghost dismounted and walked over to her window. You good? As good as I'm going to be. Want us to stick around? Part of her desperately wanted to say yes, but this was her fight and she needed to finish it herself. I'll be okay. Ghost nodded. You need anything, you call the clubhouse. We take care of people who take care of us. The bikers rode off and Savannah walked toward her building with the envelope of cash clutched in her hand. Marcus stood near the entrance, clipboard, ready smile already forming. The sheriff looked bored. Right on time, Marcus said. I appreciate punctuality even in circumstances like these. I have the money. The smile faltered. Excuse me. Savannah held up the envelope. $4,000. Everything I owe plus the late fees you tacked on. Marcus's face went through several expressions: surprise, anger, disappointment before settling on cold professionalism. Let me see it. Savannah counted out 40 $100 bills onto the hood of his BMW. The morning sun made them glow like they were lit from within. Marcus counted them twice, then 3 times, like he was hoping some would disappear. This is correct, he finally admitted. So we're done here. For now. Marcus scooped the bills into his briefcase. But you're still on thin ice, Miss Cole. One more late payment. Won't happen, Savannah said firmly. She walked past him toward her building, and for the first time in months, her steps felt light. Behind her, she heard the sheriff say, Looks like your eviction just fell through, Marcus. I can see that, Marcus muttered. Savannah climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Everything looked exactly the same. The boxes, the rocking chair, the eviction notice on the door. But everything had changed. She peeled the notice off, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it in the trash. Then she sat in her mother's rocking chair and cried, not from sadness or fear, but from relief so overwhelming it felt like drowning in reverse. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. Savannah almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. You did good, kid. The voice from earlier, the one who'd warned her about Pete. Ryder wanted me to tell you something. What? Emma's surgery is next Wednesday at Phoenix Children's Hospital, room 304. She'd like to meet the waitress who gave up everything to protect her. I didn't give up everything, Savannah said softly. I almost did, but I didn't. That's exactly why she wants to meet you. The line went dead. Savannah sat in the rocking chair as morning sunlight spilled through her windows, and for the first time since her mother died, she felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Hope. The week that followed felt like living in someone else's life. Savannah went to work at the diner, but Pete was gone. Just gone. His truck no longer sat in the parking lot, and when she asked the day cook where he went, all she got was a shrug and said he was moving to Nevada. Family stuff. The owner, a 70-year-old woman named Dorothy who lived in Tucson and barely visited, called Savannah on Tuesday morning. Heard Pete quit. You want to manage the place. Savannah nearly dropped the phone. Manage pays better. You'd run the shifts handle, ordering all of it. I'm too old to find someone else, and you're the only one who's shown up on time for 3 years straight. Yes, I'll do it. Good. You start Monday. I'll have the paperwork sent over. When Savannah hung up, Jenny grabbed her arm. Did you just get promoted? I think so. Because Pete left. Jenny's eyes narrowed. That's weird timing. Right after those bikers came in. Savannah kept her expression neutral. Coincidence. But she knew better. Ryder Kane had made sure Pete paid for what he'd done, and somehow that payment had turned into something good for her. Wednesday arrived faster than Savannah expected. She stood outside Phoenix Children's Hospital at 2 in the afternoon, holding a stuffed yellow duck she'd bought at the gift shop, feeling like an imposter. What was she supposed to say to an 8-year-old girl who was about to have open-heart surgery? A child she'd never met but who'd somehow changed her entire life. You gonna stand there all day, or you coming in? Savannah spun around. Ghost leaned against a motorcycle in the parking lot, arms crossed, watching her. I didn't know you'd be here. Ryder asked me to make sure you actually showed up. Figured you might chicken out. I'm not chickening out. I'm just... Savannah looked down at the stuffed duck. This is stupid. She probably doesn't even want to see me. She asked for you specifically. Ghost pushed off the bike and walked over. Kid's braver than most grown men I know. Least you can do is walk through that door. He was right. Savannah knew he was right. She followed Ghost through the hospital entrance, past the information desk, into an elevator that smelled like disinfectant and fear. 3rd floor, down a hallway covered in children's artwork. Room 304. Ghost knocked twice, then opened the door. The room was smaller than Savannah expected and crowded. 4 bikers stood around the bed, all of them turning to look when she entered. One of them was Ryder Kane, and in the bed, hooked up to monitors and IV lines, was Emma. She looked exactly like her photograph except smaller, more fragile. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a braid, and her blue eyes were too big for her pale face. But when she saw Savannah, she smiled. "You came?" Savannah's throat closed up. She managed to nod. "Guys, give us a minute," Ryder said quietly. The other bikers filed out ghost last, giving Savannah an encouraging nod before he closed the door. Then it was just the 3 of them, Savannah, Ryder, and the little girl who'd somehow become the center of everything. "I brought you something," Savannah said, holding out the duck. "It's not much. I love him." Emma took the duck and hugged it to her chest. "What's his name?" "I don't know. You should name him." Emma considered this seriously. "Thunder, because you were brave like thunder." "I wasn't brave. I was terrified. Daddy said you walked into a building full of scary bikers to give back money you needed to save your home." Emma's voice was matter-of-fact. "That's brave." Savannah glanced at Ryder, who was watching his daughter with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Your daddy and his friends saved my home," Savannah said, "so I guess we're even." "We're not even." Emma's grip on the duck tightened. "You saved my surgery fund. Without that money, Daddy would have had to choose between paying for my operation or paying rent for our apartment. Now he doesn't have to choose." The words hit Savannah like a punch. She hadn't thought about it that way. Hadn't realized that returning the wallet hadn't just saved Emma, it had saved Ryder too. "I'm glad I could help," Savannah said softly. "Me too." Emma looked at her father. "Daddy, can you get me some juice? The apple kind, not the gross grape kind." Ryder's lips twitched. "I'll be right back." He left, and suddenly Savannah was alone with this tiny, brave girl who was looking at her like she was something special. "Can I tell you a secret?" Emma whispered. Savannah leaned closer. "Of course, I'm scared about tomorrow." "That's okay. Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave." "Daddy says the same thing." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "But what if I don't wake up? What if this surgery is the one that doesn't work?" Savannah's heart broke. She sat on the edge of the bed and took Emma's small hand in hers. "Then you'll have spent today worrying instead of living, and that seems like a waste of a perfectly good day to me." Emma thought about this. "What would you do if you were me?" "I'd make my daddy tell me stories about all the trouble he got into when he was young. And I'd eat as much ice cream as the nurses would let me have. And I'd hug my favorite people and tell them I love them because those are the things that matter." "That's good advice." Emma squeezed Savannah's hand. "Will you come visit me after the surgery?" "If you want me to." "I do. You're my friend now." The simplicity of it made Savannah's eyes burn. "I'd be honored to be your friend." Ryder came back with apple juice and stopped in the doorway watching them. Something in his expression had softened even further. "Daddy," Savannah said, "we should eat ice cream, and you should tell stories about when you were young." Did she now? Ryder's eyes met Savannah's over Emma's head. "Those are dangerous stories for little ears." "I'll cover my ears for the bad parts," Emma promised. They spent the next hour like that, Ryder telling carefully edited stories about his motorcycle club days, while Emma laughed and asked 1,000 questions. Savannah sat in the corner chair watching this giant of a man transform into someone gentle and patient when his daughter needed him. When visiting hours ended, Emma made Savannah promise to come back. "After the surgery, when I wake up." "I promise," Savannah said. In the hallway, Ryder walked her to the elevator. They stood there in silence for a moment, both of them exhausted by the weight of what was coming. "She likes you," Ryder said finally. "She's an incredible kid." "She is," he paused. "Her mother died when she was 3. Car accident. Since then, it's been just us." Savannah didn't know what to say to that. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We've managed." Ryder looked at her directly. "But she doesn't let many people in. The fact that she's asking you to come back, that means something." "I'll be here. I promise." "Good." The elevator arrived, and before Savannah could step inside, Ryder said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For being exactly who my daughter needed to meet right now. Someone who knows what it's like to be scared but does the right thing anyway." The doors closed before Savannah could respond. She drove home through rush hour traffic, her mind replaying Emma's question over and over. What if I don't wake up that night? Savannah couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't because of eviction notices or money problems. It was because somewhere across Phoenix, an 8-year-old girl was lying in a hospital bed, wondering if tomorrow would be her last day alive. At 6 a.m., Savannah's phone rang. Unknown number, again. Her heart stopped. Hello, it's Ghost. Surgery started 20 minutes ago. Thought you'd want to know. How long will it take? 6 to 8 hours, they said. You working today? Not until noon. Good. Get here when you can. Ryder could use the support even if he won't admit it. Savannah was dressed and out the door in 10 minutes. The hospital waiting room was full of bikers. Savannah counted at least 30 of them, all wearing their leather vests, all sitting in uncomfortable plastic chairs or standing in clusters near the windows. The nurses kept glancing nervously at them, but the bikers were quiet, respectful, just there. Ryder sat alone near the corner elbows on his knees, head in his hands. Savannah walked over and sat beside him. Hey! He looked up and the exhaustion in his face was almost painful to see. You came. I said I would. It's been 3 hours. They said the first 4 are the most critical. Then we've got 1 more hour to get through. Ryder's hands were shaking. Savannah had never seen a man that size shake before. What if something goes wrong? His voice was barely a whisper. What if I lose her? You won't. You don't know that. No, Savannah admitted, but I know Emma, and I know she's fighting in there with everything she has because she knows you're out here waiting for her. Ryder's jaw worked. Her mother used to say the same thing, that Emma was a fighter. She was right. They sat in silence for a while. Around them, other bikers came and went, bringing coffee and food that no one touched. Ghost appeared at one point and squeezed Ryder's shoulder without saying a word. At the 4-hour mark, a nurse came out. Every biker in the room stood up simultaneously. Family of Emma Kane. Ryder was on his feet instantly. That's me. How is she? The surgery is progressing well. Dr. Martinez wanted me to update you that they've successfully completed the first major repair. They're moving to the second phase now. So she's okay. She's stable. Dr. Martinez is very pleased with how things are going so far. The relief that washed over Ryder's face was almost physical. Thank you. After the nurse left, the bikers erupted in quiet celebration, handshakes and backslaps, and a few wiped eyes that no one commented on. But Ryder sat back down and Savannah saw that his hands were still shaking. Hey, she said quietly. She's doing great. I know, He stopped, started again. When Emma's mother died, I wasn't there. I was on a run with the club 3 states away. By the time I got the call and made it back, she was already gone. I didn't get to say goodbye. Savannah's heart ached for him. I promised myself I'd never miss another important moment with Emma, that I'd always be there when she needed me. Ryder's voice cracked. But I can't be in that operating room. I can't protect her from what's happening. You're protecting her by being here, by making sure she has a reason to fight through this. What if that's not enough? It is enough, Savannah said firmly. You're enough, Ryder. Iman knows that. He looked at her with red-rimmed eyes. How do you do that? Do what? Say exactly what someone needs to hear. Practice, Savannah said. I spent 3 years telling my mother it would be okay when we both knew it wouldn't. You get good at finding the right words when you don't have anything else to give. Understanding passed between them. 2 people who'd loved someone through impossible situations. 2 people who knew what it felt like to be helpless. I'm sorry about your mother, Ryder said. I'm sorry about your wife. They sat there together, 2 strangers who'd become something more through shared loss and impossible choices. At hour 7, another update. Everything's still going well. 1 more hour, maybe 2. At hour 8, the waiting room had gone silent. Every biker sat perfectly still, like they were all holding their breath at once. At hour 9, Dr. Martinez came out still in scrubs, mask pulled down. Ryder shot to his feet. Doctor, the surgery was a complete success. The waiting room exploded. Bikers cheered and hugged each other, and some of them cried openly. Savannah felt tears streaming down her own face, but Ryder just stood there frozen. She's okay. She's more than okay. We were able to repair both valves and reconstruct the chamber wall. Her heart is functioning better than we'd hoped. Dr. Martinez smiled. Emma's a fighter, Mr. Kane. She came through beautifully. When can I see her? She's in recovery now. Give us another hour to get her settled in ICU, then you can go in. 2 visitors at a time. After the doctor left, Ryder turned to the room full of bikers. Thank you, all of you, for being here, for everything. We're family, Ghost said simply. This is what family does. An hour later, Ryder and Savannah stood outside the ICU waiting for permission to enter. You should go in alone first, Savannah said. She'll want to see you. She asked for both of us. I'm not family. Yes, you are. Ryder's voice was firm. Emma said you're her friend. That makes you family. A nurse opened the door. Mr. Kane, you can come in now. Emma looked so small in the ICU bed, surrounded by machines and monitors, but her eyes were open, and when she saw her father, she smiled. Hi, Daddy. Ryder crossed to her bedside and took her hand with a gentleness that seemed impossible for someone so large. Hi, baby girl. How do you feel? Tired, but good. Emma's eyes found Savannah standing near the door. You came. I promised I would, Emma. Thunder missed you. Emma held up the stuffed duck, which looked even more loved than before. Savannah moved closer to the bed. I missed him too. Dr. Martinez said my heart is fixed now, that I can run and play and do everything other kids do. That's wonderful, Emma. Know what that means? Emma's smile grew wider. It means I get to live, really live, not just wait for the next surgery. The joy in her voice made Savannah's throat tight. This was what she'd protected when she returned that wallet. This child's future, this child's chance at a real life. You know what else it means? Emma continued. It means I can go to your diner when I get out of here. Daddy promised he'd take me. Ryder looked surprised. I did. You're going to, right, Daddy? He laughed, and it was the first time Savannah had heard him laugh. Right, as soon as the doctors say you're strong enough. Emma yawned. I'm sleepy again. Then sleep, sweetheart. We'll be right here. Promise. Promise, Doss. Emma's eyes drifted closed, and within minutes she was asleep. Ryder stood there holding his daughter's hand, his face a mix of relief and gratitude and love so fierce it was almost painful to witness. She's going to be okay, Savannah whispered. Because of you, Ryder said. If you hadn't returned that money, if we'd had to delay the surgery to raise more funds. Don't go down that road. I need you to understand what you did, what you gave her. I gave her back what belonged to her. That's all. That's everything. Ryder finally looked away from Emma to meet Savannah's eyes. And I don't know how to repay that. You already did. You saved my home. That was money. He stopped struggling for words. This is my daughter's life. Before Savannah could respond, Ghost appeared in the doorway. You got a minute? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Just there's someone here who wants to talk to you. Ryder glanced at Emma, who was sleeping peacefully. I don't want to leave her. I'll stay, Savannah said. I'll watch over her. Ryder hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. After he left, Savannah sat in the chair beside Emma's bed and watched the monitors tracking her heartbeat. Strong, steady, the heart of a fighter. You did good, kid, Savannah whispered. Now you get to live the life you deserve. Emma stirred slightly, her hand tightening on the stuffed duck, but she didn't wake. In the hallway, Ghost led Ryder to a quiet corner where a woman in a business suit stood waiting. She was maybe 50, with sharp eyes and a leather briefcase. Mr. Kane, I'm Patricia Weston. I'm a reporter for the Arizona Republic. Ryder's expression hardened. I don't talk to reporters. I understand, but I heard about what happened at the diner, about the waitress who returned your wallet and what your club did to help her. Patricia pulled out a notebook. That's a hell of a story. It's private. It doesn't have to be. People need to hear stories like this. Need to know that the men in leather vests aren't just what the headlines say they are. We don't do good deeds for headlines. I know, but maybe you should. Patricia's voice softened. I've been covering crime in Phoenix for 20 years. I've written dozens of stories about motorcycle clubs and gangs and violence, but I've never written one about men who raise money to save a little girl's life, who protect a woman being evicted, who hold each other accountable when one of them does wrong. Ryder crossed his arms. What do you want from me? An interview. You, the waitress, maybe some of your club members? Let me tell the whole story. Why, because people are scared of what they don't understand. And right now, all they understand about clubs like yours is what they see on TV. Violence, crime, drugs. Patricia met his eyes. Show them the other side. Show them the brotherhood, the loyalty, the way you took care of someone who took care of you. Ryder was quiet for a long moment. I need to think about it. Fair enough? Patricia handed him a business card. But think fast. Good news doesn't stay good forever. After she left, Ghost whistled low. That was interesting. That was a complication. Or an opportunity. Ghost leaned against the wall. She's right, you know. People fear us because they don't know us. Maybe it's time we change that. Or maybe it's time reporters minded their own business. But even as Ryder said it, he was thinking about Emma, about the looks nurses gave them in the hospital, about the way people crossed the street when they saw bikers coming. What if there was another way? What if people could see them as more than just leather and chrome and violence? He went back to the ICU where Savannah still sat beside Emma's bed, keeping her promise. Everything okay, she asked. Reporter wants to do a story about what happened. Savannah's eyes widened. About the wallet. About all of it. You, me, Emma, the club, helping you. What did you tell her? That I'd think about it. Ryder sat in the other chair. What do you think? I think... Savannah paused. I think Emma would want people to know that good things still happen. That there are still people in the world who show up when it matters. Even if it puts you in the spotlight. I'm a waitress in a dying town. I'm already invisible. At least this way I'd be invisible for doing something right. Ryder pulled out Patricia's business card and stared at it. This could change everything. Or nothing. Either way, Emma's okay. That's what matters. She was right. That was what mattered. The rest was just noise. But as Ryder sat there watching his daughter sleep, he couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was starting. Something that had begun with a lost wallet and a brave waitress and was now growing into something he couldn't control. And for the first time in years, Ryder Kane wasn't sure if he wanted to stop it. 3 days later, Ryder called Patricia Weston and said yes to the interview. The decision hadn't come easily. He'd spent 2 nights lying awake in the hospital recliner while Emma slept, turning it over in his mind. Ghost had pushed for it. So had several other senior members. But it was Emma who'd made the final call. Daddy, if we tell people what Savannah did, maybe other people will do brave things too. Hard to argue with that kind of logic from an 8-year-old who just survived open-heart surgery. Patricia arrived at the hospital on Saturday morning with a photographer and a digital recorder. She'd wanted to do the interview at the clubhouse, but Ryder had refused. Emma's part of this story. We do it here or we don't do it at all. So they gathered in the family waiting room, Ryder, Savannah, Ghost, and Emma, who was now strong enough to sit up and insist on being included. I want people to know about my friend, Emma said firmly when Patricia tried to suggest she rest instead. She's a hero. Savannah's face went red. I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone would do. That's exactly what makes it newsworthy, Patricia said, setting up her recorder. Most people wouldn't have done what you did. Let's start there. Tell me about the night you found the wallet. Savannah took a breath and began. She told the story simply: the late shift, the 3 bikers finding the wallet after they left. Patricia's pen moved rapidly across her notebook. And you saw there was $8,000 inside. Wow. $9,000, Savannah corrected. But I didn't know Pete had taken $1,000 from my apron until later. Walk me through that decision. You needed money desperately. You were facing eviction. Why didn't you keep it? Savannah glanced at Emma, who was watching her with those 2 big blue eyes. Because it wasn't mine. And because, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Because I saw Emma's picture, saw what the money was for. I couldn't take away a child's chance at living just to solve my own problems. Even though your problems were serious. Even though, Patricia turned to Ryder. What went through your mind when she showed up at the clubhouse? Honestly, I thought she was crazy. Ryder's voice was steady. Didn't know if she was brave or stupid or both. Then when I counted the money and came up short, I thought she was a thief. You accused her. I did, and I was wrong. Ryder looked directly at Savannah. I let my past experiences cloud my judgment. Been burned before by people I trusted. Didn't give her the benefit of the doubt when I should have. What changed your mind? Security footage from the diner showed Pete taking the money from Savannah's apron while she wasn't looking. Showed her counting the wallet contents and putting everything back exactly as she found it. Ryder's jaw tightened. I owed her an apology and a lot more than that. Patricia made more notes. So the club helped her with the eviction. We gave her what she was owed plus what Pete had stolen from her over the months she worked there. Only fair. Some people might say it was more than fair, that you went above and beyond. Some people don't understand brotherhood. Ghost spoke up for the first time. Someone does right by us, we do right by them. Simple as that. Patricia smiled. Not so simple when it involves a last-minute rescue from eviction. The timing worked out, Ryder said. Could have just as easily not, but we don't leave people hanging when they've proved their character. The interview went on for 2 hours. Patricia asked about the club's reputation, about how they funded Emma's surgery, about what happened to Pete. Through it all, Emma sat in her wheelchair, clutching Thunder the duck, occasionally adding her own commentary. Savannah visits me every day, Emma told Patricia proudly. She brings me books and we read together. Yesterday, she brought me Harry Potter. That must mean a lot to you. It means everything. Emma's voice was matter-of-fact. Most people are scared of my daddy and his friends, but Savannah wasn't. She saw past the leather and the motorcycles and saw people who needed help. That's special. Patricia's pen paused. You're a very wise young lady. My daddy says I get it from my mom. Something flickered across Ryder's face, pride mixed with old grief. After Patricia packed up her equipment, she shook everyone's hands. This story will run next Sunday. Front page of the lifestyle section. That fast? Savannah asked. Good news doesn't wait, especially news like this. Patricia looked at Ryder. I think people are going to be surprised, in the best way possible. Or they'll think we staged it for publicity, Ghost muttered after she left. Let them think what they want, Ryder said. We know the truth. But even as he said it, a knot of worry formed in his stomach. Once the story went public, there'd be no taking it back. No controlling how people reacted or what they did with the information. The article ran the following Sunday exactly as Patricia promised. Savannah was working the morning shift at the diner when Jenny burst through the door, waving a newspaper. Oh my God, Savannah, you're famous. What are you talking about? Jenny slapped the paper on the counter. There, taking up half the front page of the lifestyle section, was a photo of Savannah sitting beside Emma's hospital bed, both of them smiling at the camera. The headline read, Heart of Gold, How One Waitress's Honesty United a Community. Savannah's hands shook as she picked up the paper. The article was long, nearly 2 full pages, and detailed everything. The wallet, the eviction, Pete's betrayal, the club's intervention, Emma's surgery. But what caught Savannah's attention was how Patricia had framed it. Not as a feel-good puff piece, but as a serious examination of snap judgments and hidden kindness. She'd interviewed people in town who admitted they crossed the street when they saw bikers. Then she'd contrasted that with the club's fundraising efforts for Emma's surgery and their protection of Savannah. The final paragraph hit hardest. In a world that teaches us to fear what we don't understand, Savannah Cole chose understanding over fear. In doing so, she didn't just save a little girl's surgery fund, she revealed the humanity hiding beneath the leather and chrome. The question now is, will the rest of us be brave enough to look past our own prejudices and see what she saw? Or will we continue to judge books by their covers and miss the extraordinary stories written inside? This is insane, Savannah whispered. Insane good or insane bad? Jenny asked. I don't know yet. She found out 2 hours later when the lunch rush hit. Except it wasn't the usual lunch crowd. Cars pulled into the parking lot one after another, families, elderly, couples, business people in suits. By noon, every booth was full, and there was a line out the door. What's happening? Savannah asked the hostess, a high school girl named Crystal, who only worked weekends. Everyone wants to meet you. They're all talking about the newspaper article. Savannah's stomach dropped. This was the last thing she wanted. Attention, strangers, questions. But the customers weren't intrusive. Most just smiled at her left generous tips and said things like, you did good, honey, or we need more people like you. One elderly man pressed a $50 bill into her hand for doing the right thing when it was hard. By 3 p.m. when her shift ended, Savannah's apron was stuffed with tips. When she counted it later, it came to almost $600. Her phone had been buzzing nonstop all day. Text messages from numbers she didn't recognize. Friend requests on social media she barely used. Even a voicemail from a local TV station asking if she'd do an interview. Savannah deleted the voicemail without listening to the whole thing. When she arrived at the hospital that evening to visit Emma, the waiting room was packed with people she'd never seen before. They held flowers and balloons and stuffed animals. A nurse stopped her at the ICU entrance. "Are you Savannah Cole?" "Yes. These are all for Emma." The nurse gestured to a table overflowing with gifts. "They've been arriving all day. Cards, toys, donations to her medical fund. We've had to start turning people away because there's no more room." "I don't understand." "The article. People read about Emma's story and wanted to help." Savannah found Ryder in Emma's room looking shell-shocked. Emma was awake, surrounded by so many stuffed animals she was barely visible. "Look," Emma called out. "People sent me presents. This elephant is from a family in Scottsdale, and this bear is from someone in California." "California," Savannah repeated. Ryder pulled her aside, his voice low. "The story went viral. It's being shared across social media. I've gotten calls from motorcycle clubs in 4 states saying they want to help with Emma's ongoing medical costs. We've received over $30,000 in donations since this morning." $30,000. That's not even the craziest part. Ryder ran a hand through his hair. "A medical equipment company called. They want to donate a wheelchair and a specialized bed for Emma's recovery, free of charge. Said they were inspired by the story." Savannah felt dizzy. "This is too much." "It's a lot," Ryder agreed. "But Emma's loving it. And honestly, maybe this is what people needed. A reason to see past their fear. Or a reason to create unrealistic expectations," Savannah said quietly. "What happens when the attention dies down and we're just regular people again? Then we'll deal with that when it comes." But the attention didn't die down. Over the next week, the story spread further. A national news site picked it up. Then a morning show. Savannah started getting interview requests from places as far away as New York and Los Angeles. She said no to all of them. "I'm not a celebrity," as she told Ryder when he asked why she kept declining. "I'm a waitress who did one good thing. That doesn't make me special." "People think it does. People are wrong." But even as she said it, Savannah knew something had fundamentally changed. At the diner, customers recognized her. On the street, strangers waved. Someone had even created a Facebook page called Friends of Savannah Cole with over 10,000 members. It was overwhelming and uncomfortable, and nothing she'd ever wanted. The only place she felt normal was with Emma, who treated her exactly the same as she always had. "Want to hear what the physical therapist said today?" Emma asked during one visit. "Tell me." "She said if I keep improving, I can go home next week, and then Daddy's taking me to the Grand Canyon." "I've never been." "That sounds amazing. You should come with us." Emma's face lit up. "Please, we could rent a cabin and you could see all the places Daddy talks about." Savannah glanced at Ryder, who looked equally surprised by the invitation. "Emma, I'm sure Savannah has work." "I could take a few days off," Savannah heard herself say. "Worthy owes me vacation time." "Really?" Emma bounced excitedly, then winced and pressed a hand to her chest. "Ow! Careful, baby girl," Ryder said immediately at her side. "No bouncing yet." But Savannah said yes. "I heard, and we'll plan something nice, but you have to heal first." Emma settled back against her pillows, grinning at Savannah. "This is going to be the best trip ever." After Emma fell asleep, Ryder walked Savannah to the parking lot. "You don't have to come with us," he said. "Emma gets excited and doesn't think about whether she's putting people on the spot." "She's not. I want to come." "Why?" The question was genuine, not challenging. "You barely know us." "I know enough." Savannah unlocked her car. "I know Emma's brave and funny and deserves every good thing life can give her. I know you'd do anything to protect her. And I know that for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm part of something bigger than just surviving day to day." Ryder studied her face in the parking lot lights. "You saved more than Emma's surgery fund, you know. You saved something in me I thought was dead." "What's that?" "The belief that people can surprise you in good ways, not just bad ones." He paused. "My wife used to say that you have to look for the good or you'll only ever see the darkness. After she died, I stopped looking, figured the darkness was all there was. And now I'm looking again." Ryder's expression softened. "Thanks to you." Before Savannah could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. She'd been getting so many she'd started letting them go to voicemail, but something made her answer this one. "Hello. Is this Savannah Cole?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes. Who's this? My name is Linda Morrison. I'm a producer for Good Morning Arizona. We'd love to have you on the show next week to talk about your story. I appreciate the offer, but I'm not doing interviews. I understand you've declined other requests, but this would be different. We'd like to feature the entire story, you, Ryder Kane, Emma, and members of the motorcycle club. A full segment showing all sides. I don't think there'd be a $5,000 donation to Emma's medical fund for appearing. Savannah froze. $5,000? And we'd cover all transportation costs. We could film at the hospital if that's easier for Emma. Savannah looked at Ryder, who'd clearly heard enough to understand what was being offered. Can I call you back? Savannah asked. Of course, but we'd need an answer by Monday. The segment would air Wednesday morning. After she hung up, Ryder raised an eyebrow. TV interview with a $5,000 donation attached. That's a lot of money. It's also a lot of exposure for all of us. Savannah leaned against her car. I don't want to make this decision alone. It affects you and Emma and the club. Then we'll make it together. Ryder pulled out his phone. Church meeting tomorrow night. We'll put it to a vote. The next evening, Savannah found herself standing in the Hells Angels clubhouse in front of 30 bikers explaining the TV offer. $5,000 for one interview, a biker named Bones asked. What's the catch? The catch is we'd be putting ourselves out there even more than we already have. Ghost said, national TV is different than a local newspaper story. But it's $5,000 for Emma, another biker pointed out. That covers her medications for months. It's not about the money, Ryder said firmly. It's about whether this is the right thing for everyone involved. Savannah didn't ask for any of this attention. Neither did Emma. We need to think about what's best for them, not what's best for the club's image. Church, the older biker who'd helped with Savannah's eviction, spoke up. I vote we let Savannah decide. This started with her choice to do the right thing. Should end with her choice too. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Ryder looked at Savannah. What do you think? Savannah thought about Emma's smile, about the donations that had poured in, about the families who'd come to the diner just to tell her she'd done good. I think, she paused, I think if doing this interview helps even one person look past their prejudices and see the good in others, then it's worth it. Even if it means more attention, more strangers recognizing you. Even then, Ryder nodded slowly. Then we do it. But we do it right. We control the narrative. We make sure they understand this isn't about glory or publicity. It's about showing people that good still exists. And that bikers aren't all the monsters the media makes us out to be, Ghost added. That too. Savannah called Linda Morrison the next morning and said yes. The interview was scheduled for Wednesday, which gave them 3 days to prepare. Emma was thrilled practicing what she'd say to the camera and making Savannah rehearse with her. What if they ask why I returned the wallet? Savannah asked during one practice session. Tell them the truth, Emma said simply, that you saw my picture and couldn't keep money from a sick kid. That sounds manipulative. It sounds honest. Emma held up Thunder the Duck like he was agreeing with her. People need honest. Tuesday night, Savannah couldn't sleep again. She kept thinking about all the ways the interview could go wrong. What if she said something stupid? What if people thought she was doing it for attention? What if this whole thing backfired and hurt Emma instead of helping her? At 2 a.m., she gave up on sleep and drove to the hospital. The night nurse looked surprised to see her. Visiting hours are over. I know, I needed to check on Emma. The nurse's expression softened. I read the article. You're Savannah, right? Right. Emma talks about you constantly. You're good for her. The nurse glanced down the hall. I'm not supposed to let visitors in after hours, but 5 minutes. Don't tell my supervisor. Emma was asleep, curled on her side with Thunder tucked under her chin. The monitors beeped steadily, and in the dim light, she looked so small and fragile that Savannah's chest ached. Hey, sweetheart, Savannah whispered, sitting carefully on the edge of the bed. I know you can't hear me, but I need to say this anyway. I'm scared about tomorrow. Scared I'm going to mess this up somehow. Scared that all this attention is going to hurt you instead of help you. Emma stirred but didn't wake. But I'm going to do it anyway, Savannah continued, because you taught me that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the thing even when you're terrified. So tomorrow I'm going to sit in front of those cameras and tell the truth about what happened, and I'm going to hope that's enough. It will be. Savannah jumped. Ryder stood in the doorway watching her. How long have you been there? Long enough. He walked in and stood on the other side of Emma's bed. You're not going to mess this up. You don't know that. I do, because you care more about doing right by Emma than you care about how you look on camera. That's what matters. Ryder reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Emma's face. She believes in you, so do I. What if people think we're lying? What if they say we made this whole thing up for publicity? Then we'll know those people aren't worth worrying about. Ryder met her eyes across the bed. Savannah, you changed our lives. You gave Emma a fighting chance and showed me there's still good in the world. Nothing anyone says can take that away. But the club, all this attention, could bring trouble. Let me worry about the club. You worry about telling Emma's story in a way that makes her proud. That's all you need to do. Savannah felt tears building. When did you become so wise? When an exhausted waitress walked into my clubhouse at midnight and reminded me what courage looks like. Ryder's smile was slight but genuine. Now go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Wednesday morning arrived cold and gray. The Good Morning Arizona crew set up in the hospital's conference room, converting it into a makeshift studio with lights and cameras and microphones. Savannah sat in a chair facing the host, a woman named Kelly Richards, who had kind eyes and an easy smile. Beside her sat Ryder Ghost, and via video call on a large monitor, Emma from her hospital room upstairs. We're live in 3, 2, 1. Kelly turned to the camera with practiced ease. Good morning, Arizona. Today, we have an incredible story about honesty, community, and the unexpected places we find heroes. You may have read about this in the Arizona Republic last week, a waitress who returned a lost wallet containing thousands of dollars to a motorcycle club, sparking a chain of events that's captured hearts across the nation. Joining us today are Savannah Cole Ryder Kane of the Hells Angels Phoenix Charter Club member, Michael Ghost Torres, and via video, 8-year-old Emma Kane. Welcome to you all. Emma waved enthusiastically at the camera. Hi. Kelly smiled. Emma, let's start with you. Can you tell us about your friend Savannah? She's the bravest person I know, Emma said without hesitation, and she gave back money she really needed because she saw my picture and wanted to help me. That's what real heroes do. And Savannah, what went through your mind when you found that wallet? Savannah took a breath. Here it was, the moment that mattered. Honestly, my first thought was that this money could solve all my problems. I was being evicted the next day. I'd spent everything I had caring for my mother before she passed. I was desperate. She paused. But then I saw Emma's picture, saw what the money was for, and I realized my problems weren't more important than a child's life. That must have been a difficult choice. It was the easiest choice I've ever made. Savannah looked at Emma on the screen. Because some things matter more than survival. Some things matter more than money or comfort or even keeping a roof over your head. And Emma's future was one of those things. Kelly turned to Ryder. As Emma's father, what was your reaction when Savannah showed up at your clubhouse? Oh, disbelief, Ryder said honestly. Nobody does that. Nobody drives into dangerous territory to return money they desperately need. I thought she'd stolen part of it. I was wrong and I owe her more than I can ever repay. The article mentioned you helped with her eviction. We gave back what was owed to her. Nothing more. Ryder's voice was firm. This isn't about us being heroes. It's about recognizing when someone does the right thing and supporting them because of it. Ghost leaned forward. People see our leather vests and make assumptions. They think we're criminals or thugs. But we're fathers and brothers and sons. We're men who work hard and take care of our families. What Savannah did was give us a chance to show that side of ourselves. The interview continued for 20 minutes, covering everything: the surgery, the donations, the community response. Emma charmed everyone with her honest answers and her obvious affection for Savannah. When it was over, Kelly looked directly into the camera. This story reminds us that heroism isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's a tired waitress making a hard choice in an empty diner. Sometimes it's a group of bikers protecting someone who protected them. And sometimes it's an 8-year-old girl teaching us all what bravery really looks like. Thank you all for sharing your story with us. The cameras cut, and Savannah felt like she could finally breathe again. You did great, Kelly said, standing to shake hands. This is going to resonate with a lot of people. She was right. By noon, the segment had been viewed over 2 million times online. By evening, it was trending on social media. By the next morning, Savannah's phone was ringing nonstop with interview requests, book deal offers, and speaking invitations. She ignored all of them, because the only thing that mattered was upstairs in room 304, where Emma was being cleared for discharge and getting ready to go home for the first time in 2 weeks. "Ready, baby girl?" Ryder asked, pushing the wheelchair up to Emma's bed. "So ready." Emma clutched thunder in her bag of new stuffed animals. "Can we go to Savannah's diner on the way home, please?" Ryder looked at Savannah, who nodded. "I'll call ahead. Make sure we've got your favorite table ready." An hour later, they pulled into the Desert Rose Diner's parking lot to find it packed with cars and motorcycles. A banner hung over the entrance. "Welcome home, Emma." Emma's eyes went wide. "Is this for me?" "All for you, sweetheart." Inside, every booth was filled with people, club members, diner regulars, families who'd seen the interview. They erupted in applause when Emma wheeled through the door. Jenny rushed over with a special milkshake decorated with whipped cream and sprinkles. "Vanilla extra cherries, just how you like it." "How did you know that's my favorite?" Emma asked. "Your daddy might have mentioned it." Jenny winked at Ryder. They sat in booth 7, the same booth where it had all started, and for the first time since finding that wallet, Savannah felt like maybe, just maybe, everything had happened exactly the way it was supposed to. "Make a wish," Ryder told Emma as she stared at her milkshake. Emma closed her eyes tight, then opened them and looked at Savannah. "I wish that you'd always be my friend, no matter what." Savannah's throat went tight. "That's already true. You don't need to waste a wish on it. It's not wasted if it's something I really want." Outside the diner windows, the Arizona sun was setting, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson. Inside, a little girl with a fixed heart sat between her father and the woman who'd saved her life, without even knowing it, eating ice cream and laughing like the future was full of nothing but possibilities. And for the first time in longer than anyone could remember, it was. The media attention lasted another 2 weeks before it finally started to fade. Savannah was grateful when it did. She turned down so many interview requests that her voicemail was constantly full, and she'd learned to ignore the TV vans that occasionally showed up at the diner looking for a follow-up story. "You're a hard woman to track down," one reporter had said when he cornered her in the parking lot. "That's intentional," Savannah had replied, walking away without looking back. What she hadn't expected was how the story would change things in ways that weren't loud or flashy but ran deep. The diner was busier than it had been in years. Not because of tourists or curiosity seekers, those had stopped coming after the first week, but because people from town actually wanted to eat there now. Families came in for Sunday breakfast. Construction workers stopped by for lunch. Even Marcus Delaney, her former landlord, had shown up one afternoon. "I wanted to apologize," he'd said, standing awkwardly by the counter, "for how I handled things. You were going through hell and I just made it worse." Savannah had been so shocked she'd almost dropped the coffee pot. "Thank you for saying that. I read the article. Made me realize I'd become the kind of person who only sees dollar signs, not actual people." Marcus had pulled out his wallet. "I'm paying for everyone's meal in here today. It's not much, but it's a start." He'd left $300 on the counter and walked out before Savannah could respond. Jenny had whistled low. Did Marcus Delaney just grow a conscience? "Stranger things have happened," Savannah had said, still staring at the cash. But the biggest change came from somewhere she'd never expected. 3 weeks after Emma's discharge, Ryder called Savannah at 7 in the morning. "You working today?" "Not until noon. Why?" "Need your help with something. Can you meet me at the clubhouse?" Savannah's stomach did a small flip. She'd been to the clubhouse twice since the interview, both times to drop off food for Emma, but being summoned there still felt significant. "What's this about?" "Just trust me, please." 40 minutes later, Savannah pulled into the familiar parking lot to find it mostly empty. Just Ryder's bike and Ghost's truck. Inside, she found them standing in the main room with blueprints spread across a table. "What's going on?" Ryder looked up, and there was something different in his expression. Excitement mixed with nervousness. "We want to start a foundation for families dealing with pediatric heart conditions, help with medical costs, provide resources, connect them with support systems." Savannah's breath caught. "That's incredible." The donations for Emma kept coming even after we said we had enough. "We've got over $100,000 sitting in an account." Ghost tapped the blueprints. "We want to use it right, but we need someone to run it, someone people trust." "Someone like you," Ryder finished. The words hung in the air between them. Me, Savannah's voice came out higher than intended. I don't know anything about running a foundation. Neither do we, Ghost said. But you know what it's like to be desperate, to watch someone you love suffer and feel helpless. That's worth more than any business degree. We'd pay you a salary, Ryder added. Enough that you could quit the diner if you wanted, or keep it and do both, your choice. Savannah's mind was racing. This is too much. I can't. Yes, you can, Ryder's voice was firm. You started all this by doing one good thing. Now we're asking you to help us do 1,000 more. What does Emma think? She's the one who suggested it. Ryder pulled out his phone and showed Savannah a voice recording. Emma's voice came through clearly. Daddy Savannah should be in charge of helping other kids like me. She already saved my life once. She can save other people's too. Tears burned in Savannah's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Ghost urged. We've already talked to lawyers, filed the paperwork. We just need someone to make it real. Savannah looked at the blueprints, at the budgeted projections, at the faces of two hardened bikers who were offering her a chance to turn her worst year into something meaningful. When do I start? Ryder's smile was real and unguarded. How about right now? The Emma Kane Foundation officially launched 6 weeks later with a ceremony at the hospital. Emma was there in her wheelchair, healthy enough now to be restless, but still needing to take it easy. She cut the ribbon with oversized scissors while cameras flashed and people cheered. This foundation will help kids like me, Emma told the crowd, her voice clear and confident. Kids who are scared and sick and need people to believe in them. And it exists because one person chose to do the right thing when it was hard. She looked directly at Savannah, who stood off to the side, trying not to cry. Thank you for being brave when I needed you to be. The applause was deafening. Afterward, as volunteers helped set up information tables, Patricia Weston appeared at Savannah's elbow. This is quite the follow-up story. Are you ever not working? Savannah asked. Rarely. Patricia smiled. But I wanted to tell you something off the record. The day I interviewed you, I wasn't sure the story would resonate. I thought people might see it as just another feel-good piece they'd forget by the next news cycle. And I was wrong. I've gotten over 300 emails from readers. People saying they donated to medical funds. People who challenged their own prejudices about bikers or ex-convicts or whoever they'd written off as not worth knowing. One woman said she returned a found wallet with $500 in it because your story inspired her. Patricia's voice softened. You changed something in people. That's rare. Before Savannah could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A line of motorcycles was pulling up outside, not just Hell's Angels, but bikers from other clubs. Colors she didn't recognize, patches from cities across 3 states. Ryder appeared at her side. They're here. Who's here? Everyone we invited. Over the next hour, representatives from 15 different motorcycle clubs filed into the hospital atrium. Rough-looking men and women who brought checks and pledges of support. Each one stopped to shake Ryder's hand, then Savannah's, then to meet Emma. Heard what you did, one club president told Savannah. She was maybe 50, covered in tattoos with kind eyes. Takes guts. My club wants to be part of this. We've got a member whose grandson needs a kidney. Your foundation going to help with things like that. Heart conditions right now, Savannah explained, but eventually we want to expand to all pediatric medical needs. Then we're in, whatever you need. By the end of the day, the foundation had commitments for over $200,000 and volunteer support from clubs in Arizona, Nevada, California, and New Mexico. Ghost looked stunned. I didn't think they'd all actually show up. Why wouldn't they? Ryder asked. This is what we do. We take care of our own. And now our own includes every sick kid who needs help. That night, Savannah sat in Emma's hospital room. She was staying overnight for observation after overexerting herself at the ceremony and watched the little girl sleep. You should go home, Ryder said quietly from the other chair. Get some rest. I will, in a minute. Savannah didn't take her eyes off Emma. I keep thinking about how close we came to this not happening. If I'd kept that money, if Pete hadn't stolen it in the first place, if you'd decided I wasn't worth believing. But none of those things happened. They almost did. Almost doesn't count. Ryder leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You made a choice. I made a choice. Emma fought like hell. And now we're here. That's what matters. Is it enough, though, one foundation, when there are thousands of families struggling? It's a start. Ryder's voice was gentle. You can't save everyone, Savannah, but you can save someone, and sometimes that someone changes everything. Savannah finally looked at him. Is that what I did? Changed everything. You changed everything for Emma, everything for me? He paused. Everything for a lot of people who didn't even know they needed changing. I just did what felt right. That's exactly why it worked. 3 months later, the foundation had helped 12 families with medical expenses and connected 8 others with resources they didn't know existed. Savannah worked from a small office in the clubhouse, an arrangement that had seemed strange at first, but quickly became normal. She'd arrive in the morning to find Ghost brewing coffee and Church reviewing donation receipts. Sometimes Emma would be there doing homework at the table while Ryder worked on bikes in the garage. It felt like family. One Tuesday afternoon, Savannah was processing applications when her phone rang. Unknown number. She'd gotten better about screening calls, but something made her answer. This is Savannah. Hi, my name is Teresa Blackwood. My daughter has a congenital heart defect. We just got your information from Phoenix Children's Hospital. Savannah grabbed a pen. Tell me about your daughter. Teresa's voice cracked. She's 6. She needs surgery we can't afford. Insurance will only cover half. We've been fundraising for 8 months and we're still $30,000 short. The hospital says if we can't pay by next month, they'll have to delay the surgery, but the doctors said waiting could be dangerous and I don't know what to do. Take a breath, Savannah said gently. What's your daughter's name? Sophie. Okay, Teresa, here's what's going to happen. I need you to email me all of Sophie's medical records and your financial documentation. Can you do that today? Yes, but will you really be able to help? That's what we're here for. Savannah pulled up the foundation's spreadsheet. We've got emergency funding available. If your case qualifies, and from what you're telling me, it does, we can get you approved within 48 hours. Teresa started crying. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me. Just get me those documents. After she hung up, Savannah sat there for a moment staring at her notes. Another family, another child, another chance to make a difference. Good call, Ghost asked from the doorway. 6-year-old named Sophie needs emergency surgery funding. Can we cover it? We can. Savannah looked up at him. Is this ever going to feel less overwhelming, knowing these kids are counting on us? Probably not. Ghost's expression was serious. But that's what makes it worth doing. If it was easy, everyone would do it. By Friday, Sophie's family had been approved for full funding. Teresa called Savannah sobbing with gratitude, and that night, Savannah went to the diner for her evening shift, feeling like she was walking on air. The feeling lasted until Marcus Delaney walked in at 9 p.m. looking grim. We need to talk, he said. Savannah's stomach dropped. About what? Your apartment? The buildings have been sold. New owners are doing renovations. Everyone has to be out by the end of the month. You're evicting me again. Not me, I don't own it anymore. Marcus actually looked apologetic. I'm sorry, Savannah. I know this is terrible timing. I tried to negotiate with the new owners, but they're not budging. It's everyone in the building, not just you. Savannah felt like she'd been punched. How long do I have? 3 weeks. After he left, Savannah sat at the counter and put her head in her hands. Here we go again, she thought. Just when things were finally stable, the universe decided to remind her that stability was an illusion. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ryder. Heard about the building. Come by tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Savannah stared at the message. We'll figure it out. Like it was that simple. But maybe she thought maybe it was. The next morning, Savannah drove to the clubhouse expecting a sympathetic conversation and maybe some leads on affordable apartments. Instead, she found Ryder Ghost Church and 5 other bikers standing in the parking lot next to a moving truck. What's happening? Savannah asked, confused. Church has a rental property, Ryder said. 3-bedroom house. Tenant just moved out. It's yours if you want it. I can't afford a 3-bedroom house. Same rent you were paying for your apartment. Church interrupted. I'm not trying to make money off you, kid. I'm trying to make sure you've got a stable place to live. Why would you do that? Because you're family now, Ghost said like it was obvious. And family doesn't let family become homeless. Savannah looked at the truck, at the men gathered around it, at the solution they'd assembled, before she'd even asked for help. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Ryder urged. House has a yard, garage, actual space to breathe, and it's 5 minutes from the diner and the clubhouse, so you won't have to drive as far. Plus, Emma wants to help you decorate, Church added with a grin. She's already got paint colors picked out for the guest room. Savannah felt tears building again. You guys are ridiculous. Is that a yes? That's a yes. They moved her that weekend with an efficiency that was almost military. 20 bikers showed up with trucks and trailers, and by Sunday evening, Savannah's entire life had been transported to a small house with a front porch and a backyard, and more space than she'd had in years. Emma supervised from her wheelchair, directing placement of furniture like a tiny general. The couch goes by the window. No, the other window. And Savannah's mom's rocking chair should be in the corner where the sun hits in the morning. Yes, ma'am, Ghost said, moving the chair for the third time. When everything was finally unpacked and the bikers had left, promising to come back next week for a proper housewarming. Barbecue? Savannah stood in her new living room and felt something she'd almost forgotten. Peace. You like it? Emma asked from the doorway. I love it. Good. Because you're not allowed to move again. Ever. I don't want to have to help pack boxes anymore. Savannah laughed and pulled Emma into a careful hug. Deal. That night, after Ryder had taken Emma home and Savannah was alone in her new house, she sat in her mother's rocking chair and called the one number she'd been avoiding. Pete answered on the third ring. Savannah? Yeah, it's me. Silence. Then, I didn't think you'd ever call. I didn't think I would either. Savannah took a breath. But I need to say something. What you did was wrong. You stole from me, from Emma, from people who trusted you, and you let me take the fall for it. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm not done. Savannah's voice was firm. But I also know you were desperate, that your daughter needed help and you didn't know how else to get it. So I'm calling to tell you that if she still needs help, if she's still in trouble, the foundation might be able to do something. Not a handout, but resources, connections, actual support. Pete was quiet for so long, Savannah thought he had hung up. Then, why would you help me after what I did? Because someone once told me that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And because the foundation exists to help people who were desperate, that includes your daughter, even if her father made terrible choices. I don't deserve this. Probably not, but your daughter might. Look up the Emma Kane Foundation. Fill out an application if you want help. If not, then at least know I don't hate you anymore. I just feel sorry for you. She hung up before Pete could respond. The days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The foundation grew. More families were helped. More clubs joined the network. Emma got stronger every day, eventually graduating from the wheelchair to physical therapy to running around the clubhouse like she'd never been sick at all. Slow down, Ryder called as Emma raced past him. Can't I've got too much energy. That's what happens when you get a new heart valve. You become a tornado. Emma laughed and kept running. Savannah watched from the office doorway smiling. This was what they'd fought for. This moment. This joy. Her phone buzzed. Email notification. She opened it, expecting another family application. Instead, it was from Teresa Blackwood. Subject line, thank you. Savannah opened it and found a photo of a little girl with dark curls and a bright smile, sitting up in a hospital bed post-surgery giving a thumbs up. The email read, Sophie came through perfectly. Surgery was a success. She's already asking when she can go home and play with her dog. We will never be able to repay what you've done for our family, but we'll spend the rest of our lives trying to pay it forward. Thank you for giving us our daughter's future back. Savannah saved the photo and added it to the growing collection on her office wall. 12 faces now, 12 children whose lives had been changed by a choice she'd made in a dusty diner on the worst night of her life. You okay? Ryder asked, appearing beside her. Better than okay. Savannah gestured to the wall. Look at them, all these kids who get to live because of what we built. What you built, we just helped. No. Savannah turns to face him. We built this together. You, me, Emma, the club, every person who donated or volunteered or spread the word. This isn't mine. It's ours. Ryder looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You know what Emma told me last night? What? She said you're the best thing that ever happened to us. That finding your wallet was like finding a missing piece we didn't know we needed. You mean you finding my wallet? No. Ryder's smile was soft. I mean you finding us. A year after the wallet incident, the town held a ceremony to honor the foundation's work. The mayor presented Savannah with a key to the city. Local news covered it. Families whose children had been helped stood up and told their stories. 20 motorcycle clubs sent representatives wearing their colors, proudly showing the world what brotherhood really meant. Emma gave a speech that made everyone cry. "A year ago, I was scared I might die," she said into the microphone, her voice steady and clear. "But then Savannah showed me what bravery looks like. She taught me that doing the right thing isn't about not being scared, it's about being scared and doing it anyway. And because she was brave, I got to live. I got to meet my best friend. I got to see my daddy smile again. And I got to help other kids like me have a chance at tomorrow." She paused and looked directly at Savannah in the front row. "Thank you for finding that wallet. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for showing everyone that good people still exist, even when the world makes it hard to believe. You saved my life, and then you saved a whole lot more." The crowd rose in a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, as people mingled and ate barbecue provided by the club, Ryder pulled Savannah aside. "I have something for you." He handed her a small box wrapped in plain paper. "What is this? Open it." Inside was a leather wallet, old worn but lovingly restored. Ryder's wallet, the one that had started everything. "I don't understand." "Inside," Ryder said. Savannah opened it. Where the cash had once been, there was now a photo of her and Emma taken at the foundation's opening ceremony, both of them laughing. Below it, in Emma's handwriting, "Our hero." And beneath that, in Ryder's rougher script, "The woman who changed everything." Savannah couldn't speak through the tears. "You gave me back more than money that night," Ryder said quietly. "You gave me back hope, faith in people, proof that goodness still exists in the world. This wallet represents that. It represents the moment everything changed for us. Ryder, keep it. Pass it down someday. Let it remind you what one choice can do, what one person willing to do the right thing can change." Savannah held the wallet against her chest, feeling the weight of everything it represented. Not money or leather or even memories, but possibility. The possibility that one good choice could ripple outward, forever touching lives in ways you'd never see or know about. "Thank you," she whispered. "No, Savannah, thank you." As the sun set over the celebration and Emma ran through the crowd, showing everyone her new skateboard, and Ryder stood with his brothers, watching his daughter live the life he'd almost lost, Savannah thought about the night that had changed everything. The wallet, the choice, the fear and desperation, and that one moment of deciding who she wanted to be when everything was on the line. She'd been terrified that night driving to the clubhouse with money she needed more than air. She'd been humiliated when Ryder accused her of stealing. She'd been broken when Pete's betrayal came to light. But through it all, through every hard moment, an impossible choice, she'd held on to one truth: doing the right thing matters even when it costs you everything. Especially when it costs you everything. Because that's when it counts most. That's when it changes lives. That's when it saves the world one wallet at a time. Emma ran over and grabbed Savannah's hand. "Come on, Daddy says we're doing karaoke, and I picked our song." "What song?" "You'll see." As Savannah let herself be pulled toward the stage where Ghost was setting up a microphone and the crowd was cheering, and Ryder was shaking his head but smiling anyway, she realized something profound. She'd spent so long trying to survive that she'd forgotten what it felt like to actually live. But now, surrounded by people who'd become family in the most unexpected way, she finally understood the difference. Survival was keeping your head above water. Living was learning to swim towards something worth reaching. And she'd found something worth everything. Not in the money or the recognition or even the foundation's success, but in the connections forged through shared struggle. In the little girl who called her a hero. In the man who trusted her when he had every reason not to. In the community of outlaws who'd shown her that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up when the world falls apart. Emma grabbed the microphone and started singing off-key and enthusiastic and completely perfect. Savannah joined in, not caring that she couldn't carry a tune, not worried about tomorrow or yesterday or anything except this moment. This perfect, impossible, beautiful moment that existed because one exhausted waitress had made one hard choice on the worst night of her life, and proved that sometimes the people society fears most are the ones who show up when no one else will.